One of the writers of Drop is Jillian Jacobs, and I thought it was the Jillian with a G that's actually an actress in Community, but it happens to be another Jillian with a J. So let's review Drop. Drop stars Megan Faye, Brandon Sklenar, and is directed by Christopher Landon.
I know it's you. How's this date going?
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review. We're going to review Drop, the new mystery thriller directed by Christopher Landon. You know what? Kudos to Christopher Landon because he is quickly becoming a horror household name. I think most people that are really dug in with horror these days, especially like modern horror, when you say Christopher Landon, you know who he is because he did the Happy Death Day movies, but also he was at one time attached to Scream 7. So if Scream did anything good for him, besides the Happy Death Day movies, it, I think, again, made him a household name. But his newest movie, more kudos to him, is Drop, and I think he is a director that likes to step outside of his comfort zone. Drop is different than Happy Death Day, and I would even say even Happy Death Day movies are quite different, at least the second from the first one. So again, this is a director that likes to change things up, keep it interesting, and that's what he does with Drop. You know, this is not a slasher type movie. This is more of just a straight up thriller with a baddie who is, you know, putting a character under a pressure cooker, and they have to do his bidding. Otherwise, somebody is going to get killed, damn it. And by the way, before I get started, I'm going to start doing some more rankings. I did post something about my rankings on my community page. Thank you guys for all the great ideas. Before I posted that, I posted something about pregnancy in horror. And the reason I thought about that is because there were 4 different movies last year, new movies, that had a pregnant character in them. And I thought, you know what? That'd be a good freaking countdown, because there's probably like 50 horror movies that I can think of that had a pregnant woman in them in some way or another, right? So yeah, look for that real soon. I'm going to record that in this same session. But first off, let's give you a quick plot synopsis for Drop. I kind of gave you the broad strokes of the plot earlier, but Megan Faye, she plays Violet. Now, at the very beginning of the movie, you're going to see a traumatic event that she went through. I won't go into any spoilers as to what that was, but of course it does tie into the movie and to who this character is as a person, and maybe it'll play a factor into if she gets out of this ordeal or not. But the ordeal is that there is this sadistic character that is making her life a living hell while she is actually on a date. And really most of this movie is that date with this character, Henry, played by Brandon Sklenar. Now, I've given this movie a few days to percolate. I decided not to go ahead and record the review after the out-of-theater reaction like I often do. But this time I thought, you know what, I'll just let it sit. And sometimes that can make a movie better or worse for me, because is it staying on my mind, or have I dumped it out of my head, you know, because it really did nothing for me. And I will say this movie has stayed with me. I did like it quite a bit. Yes, it does have some problems, which we will get into. I guess starting with the good of this movie, I like how simple it is. You know, how most of this movie takes place in one location, and this character, she is being given these tasks via these drops in her phone through this app by the villain. And there's a few things that she has to do throughout this. She has to stay on that date with this guy. She cannot let the guy leave from the date. She does see a masked criminal in her home. The villain shows her this on her phone. So yeah, this is very serious business for her. Her family might be in danger. I didn't mention that she has a son and a sister that happen to be in the house. Her sister is babysitting the son. But yeah, the whole movie is just her on this date. And, you know, I think from Henry's point of view, this is probably one of the worst dates he's had in recent memory, because nothing seems to be going well. Every time he starts getting comfortable with her and maybe starting a conversation with her, she's looking at her phone, which I'm sure a lot of people that are on dates these days can relate to. I'm sure a lot of you guys are on a date and you can't get the person to get off their phone. Hell, you might even be married and you can't get your spouse to get off their phone. It happens. So this movie definitely plays with those modern tropes that we see today that can be annoying. And just briefly on the acting, I think Megan Fahey is really great. She pretty much has to carry this entire movie. It's on her shoulders. And she has to just play with a variety of emotions. As an actor, I would imagine that this, is a great exercise in utilizing your acting tool belt, so to speak. She has to cover the gamut as far as emotions go. But also, this movie has some really great and creative camera work throughout inside the restaurant, which is a beautiful high-rise restaurant as well. But also, in the last act when they are actually in the apartment, and, there's this big showdown, which I won't go into any spoilers or anything, but I just like, how creative Christopher Landon got with the shot. And one of the reasons I mentioned that too is because I was just watching this documentary on Brian De Palma that's on Tubi. And I love Brian De Palma. He's one of my all-time favorite directors. And one thing that he constantly mentions in that documentary is how he loves to keep a shot interesting. I thought the documentary was very educational, actually, as far as like setting up shots and how they can be boring if you're not persistent in trying to make the scene creative. Any scene can be fun and creative as long as you keep the frame, the blocking, the shots, keep all that stuff interesting. And this movie definitely falls into that category. You could tell Christopher Landon, he wanted to make every shot count because there's a lot of opportunities to do that with a movie like this. Also, this is a great date movie. And that's not a phrase that I get to use that often, although I think most movies can be date movies. But this one especially is a great date movie. And the reason I say that is because it is interactive. When you're watching this movie, if you're into it, you cannot help but react to what's going on screen, maybe form your own opinion as to what you would do in any given scene. And, I'm going to give a shout out to my critic buddy, Dan, who was sitting next to me. I don't think he would mind me saying this. He is the type of movie watcher that just likes to get involved. And I could not help but notice him, like sticking his arm out or sighing sometimes. And it was quite funny and comedic at times. Because I'm more of a silent viewer. You won't get much of any emotions out of me at all when I'm watching a movie, unless it's a comedy. And I do tend to laugh at comedies. But if it's a serious movie, I tend to just be really quiet and take it all in. But some people, like my buddy Dan, they have to interact with the screen and they have to even maybe talk. Like, he's not being loud or anything, but it's just interesting. Let me know down in the comments, what type of movie watcher are you? Are you the type of person that likes to get involved, I guess, so to speak, with the movie? Now, as far as the cons go for this movie, I don't think the actual plot of the movie, I really think it's sort of surface level as far as like setting up the rules. I do think there are some moments that you are going to be like, okay, I've just had enough of this. I wish you would tell this person to get lost. There's only so far you can drive a character in a movie before you start calling the character stupid for doing what they're doing. I'm not saying she is like full on dumb with some of the decisions she makes, but to the movie's defense, if you are actually in this situation, if your child is in danger, how are you going to react? Because most of us don't have to deal with this type of stuff. But also, as far as like going deep in terms of like a mystery type movie, and that falls right in line with De Palma, which I was talking about, that's a storyteller that likes to go maybe more than surface level in terms of a story and, digging deep. And this movie, it's not really that. And I think it's quite predictable as well. I don't think you're going to be shocked by, I guess, the final reveal in the movie. But that doesn't mean you're not going to enjoy yourself. I think this movie was fun. I think it was fine. As far as a rating, I would give it, I'd give it a low purchase worthy, I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. Maybe I will when it comes to streaming. But I will give Christopher Landon credit. It is fun to watch his work. And he's definitely starting to develop a certain brand to his movies. And I like that. So what are your thoughts on Drop? I need to hear them in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day on Fridays. Woody Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Become a channel member. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and rum them out.